about an inch or 3/4 of an inch. That's about as far as I go.
Yeah, because this is cross grain, so it can break off. It's not an end grain. If you have a tenon that's an end grain, you can take it really narrow because the fibers are running vertically. So I'm just going to shape this up. So I'll take a little bit off. The depth here, I want to make it. I think it's really important as you look at the piece to have the piece continue as if the ring is separate. It's part of it, but I don't want a weird depth here. You know, I want it to look like it's a ball.
So instead of concave, you'll actually make it convex inside?
Yeah, but you know what? The reason I brought these was to show you the different bottom treatments. This one has a concave base, just because I thought, hey, that might be interesting. Plus, it was such a vertical piece. You know, I dramatically wanted to create a cove inside.
Yeah, but you don't want to lose track and have a really beautiful funnel.
Yeah,
that's right. When you're going deep like that, and then all of a sudden you see the leg.
Yes. We can't see that tool very well. Are you slicing or scraping at this point?
When I bring it this way, when I bring it toward me, I'm scraping.
Okay.
Now, if I'm going to push toward the tenon, I'm going to be cutting with a gouge style cut. Now, coming in, I'm going to just use the gouge and so now I'm going to scrape this way. Basically just establish that inside.
Chris, I struggled with this idea of continuing the shape through, you know, like when you got a board where you got a piece that's going to go from the top and then the flat four-sided board and then it continues on the bottom, getting it to look like it's sitting inside. How do you continue the curve inside that foot?
Just visually, in this case it's flat. It's really at the end of the curve, so it's really just kind of you come into the base and it's continuing up.
You got to worry about the depth and the taper.
Right. I don't want it too deep. I want this curve to continue through the base, and then you have your ring that allows the piece to
sit on this.
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to create a nice. Turn the inside. Okay. This is a tool I made. None of my tools are pretty, but they work. And this tool, I'm just going to take it in here and do that. And that is a pure scrape. Well, in the interest of time, I'll just show you. I'd use a little because I don't want to. I have a power carver, and on these kind of pieces, I end up having to power carve this off. So I don't power carve a whole lot of wood. I use this to get it down as low as I can. get rid of this completely. Especially take that off so it doesn't hit something. And then an interesting thing, a nice technique, I like to keep all these little sandpaper pieces from about 80 through 400. And what I do is I'll tear these little pieces like that, and I'll fold them up. I'm not going to sand a lot, but I'll take this and I'll just go in here and I'll just work that area with these little folded sandpaper pieces, and then I'll roll it like that, and I'll just stick that in there, and with my other finger I'll just force it up in there. And I'll just use these little sandpaper folds and just to sand this out. And I'll take it all the way up. I'll just take it all the way up to 400 with all these sandpaper things. And when I get the whole piece sanded, and I've sanded everything to 400 or 600, depending on the wood, all I have left is this little nub. I'll just take it off, and I will take it. Actually, that was beginning to crack, so that was probably too low a diameter. But that's kind of what I was looking for, and at this point, everything would be sanded. And then I would just take this little. This is a really handy tool. If you guys don't have one of these, it's a Proxim power carver. And I would just take this power carver and I just hit that nub off. Make sure it doesn't tear off more than the flush surface. And then I would take little sandpaper pieces and I would just hand sand that up to 400 until the whole piece is finished.
If you didn't have the power carver, what would you suggest for using?
A little, maybe just a manual chisel.
Okay.
You could take,
Tap it, so
you could just take
leave some wood.
You could just, you want to do, you could just take a little chisel of any kind, really. Sometimes it'll just, like, this will probably just break off. Sometimes I can just tap it and break it off. Try to protect that ring. The ring, when I do sand it manually, I like to round it and just create kind of a bead. Even if it's taller, I like to round that base. It gives it a little better feel for it. So that's essentially the look. If you don't know for about the right thickness. When you sand it, it'll go even thinner than that. I'm not sure how much time. Do you have enough time for me to show you one more thing? You guys all tired of it?
I get those. I thought he was like turning the bowl, make it do a seat.
Yeah.
It's round.
I've seen that. I've seen that done. That's good. Here's you can get these inserts for all these chucks. It's a one-way stronghold. I have an Axminster I got from England. Same kind of thing. It has these attachments that you can just, here's a spur center. This would just go right in there. And really handy if you don't have one of those. But this I use for hollow vessel bottoms. And I just put that right in there. And if I have a piece, the same principle on a hollow vessel. Finish the entire outside, and the inside is all the way down to the finished thickness. And then I just flip it around. If it's nice and finished here, I'll use a little I just use a little cloth like that, and I put it right in there, and then I'll move this up here.
Lots of pressure.
Do the same thing.